Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Teresa Lusk Show. I am your host, Teresa Lusk, and I have just a wonderful guest for you today. And you really need to tune in to this guest. First of all, we have the wonderful John Fabriccatore. And I want you to know a little bit about John. He is a retired member of the Senior Executive Service and former Field Office Director for U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, also enforcement removal operations. The ERO Denver area responsibility includes Colorado and Wyoming, covering 200,000 square miles with more than 200 federal employees. So help me welcome John Fabriccatore. John, welcome to the show.
I'm definitely grateful to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. John, you have an extensive bio, and I really didn't want to do a disservice to you. So I wanted our viewers to get to hear a little bit out of your mouth, who you are and what you do, because today we're going to talk about a topic that's very important for our nation and for our borders, which is immigration. So tell us a little bit about yourself so that our viewers know exactly why you're qualified to speak on this topic.
Okay, well, my federal service goes back about 30 years. I started out in the United States Air Force, spent 4 years in the Air Force, and then worked for Federal Protective Service for a few years. Worked on the Oklahoma City bombing trial, moved over to what was then INS at the time. And then, 9/11 happened, and INS became Immigration Customs Enforcement. I moved up through the ranks through Immigration Customs Enforcement, worked a lot of different operations, worked fugitive unit for many years, worked with the U.S. Marshals, worked on sex offender registry stuff, and then got into higher management and became an assistant field ops director and a deputy field ops director. I worked down at the border out of San Antonio through Joint Task Force West. I helped with the Afghanistan withdrawal and was the director for independent departure on the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And then I retired this last July. And I was just kind of going to sit at home and enjoy retirement. And, I started noticing what was going on more and more at the border. And I decided I just couldn't sit on the sidelines, that I needed to get back into action and I needed to do something about it. So, started a consulting firm, got on the board of a national immigration advocacy group. And, here I am today. I do a lot of different talk shows. I've been down to the border multiple times since I've retired, just trying to get the truth out to people on what's really happening at the border, because I don't believe the media is really portraying actually what's going on down there. And, I really think people need to know.
Absolutely. So that leads me to my next question. What is happening at the border, John? What really is going on?
Yeah, so the border's a mess. It's and to be truthful about it, the border's been a mess for 30 years or more. Since I started working with immigration, but definitely within the last few years, it's definitely gotten worse. I mean, to give a little bit of historical focus, so back in the 1990s under President Clinton, we actually had some bipartisan efforts there, and they came up with some great immigration laws, and those laws were voted on and put on the books. And the problem is, through every different presidential administration, they just never really got around to enforcing those laws. So as each president would come on, whether it be President Bush, President Obama, they just kind of withdrew from some of those laws and never really enacted what immigration could do. And what that did is it just opened up this aperture to allow for people just to kind of forego what immigration law is. And now when we get to today and we have this administration who really does not want to enforce immigration law. And I mean, you can look at the statistical data on that, on how many arrests and how many people that they've allowed to just enter the country illegally. You have a situation now where we have millions and millions of people who are illegally here in the country, millions of people who have actually seen an immigration judge and been ordered deported but have refused to leave. And you have this situation where we're in this time now where we have to figure out what we're going to do about immigration, because what's happening at the border is allowing crime to come into the United States. We have instances of the fentanyl in the United States. If you look at the opioid crisis, that could be directly tied to the border. It could be tied to what the cartels are doing at the border, with the Chinese giving the cartels or selling the precursors for fentanyl to the cartels, and then the cartels mixing that into a lot of different drugs and bringing that across the border, using illegal immigration to help get those drugs across the border. And now we're in a situation where 100,000 people a year are dying from opioid overdoses, and about 60 to 70% of those are due to fentanyl. So we have this situation at the border where there's just more crime coming across and more bad situations, and something needs to be done about it. And Congress is really the only one that can do something about it. But they've failed to really make any efforts over the last 30 years to try to really get this under control. And now people in communities throughout the U.S., every single community in the U.S., it doesn't matter if you're on the border, you are now a border community.
Yeah. So what is the reason that you believe even the prior administrations, and definitely the Biden administration, who right now has the ball in their court to take care of things, what do you think is the problem? Why such neglect, even from prior administrations to now?
Yeah, when you really look at it, a lot of people say, well, it's to allow more voters in, it's to allow this and that, and I really don't look at it that way. Actually, a lot of the people that are coming across the border hold conservative views. Actually, they may vote Democrat when they first are allowed to vote in the United States, but a lot of them actually do have conservative views. But what I see as the main issue is that it's a belief that we should not have a border. This administration definitely believes that we should not be deporting people the way that we're deporting them, that we should not be holding them in detention. They're violating the law as the law is written in the Immigration Nationality Act. They're going around Congress and then just allowing this to happen. And when you ask them questions, and Secretary Mayorkas, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, has been in front of Congress. They've asked him these questions. Why aren't we doing this? Why are we not stopping the cartels from bringing drugs across the border? Why are we not stopping human smuggling and sex trafficking? I mean, he really can't answer that answer. His answer is always the border's closed. The border's closed. It's not open. And this whole situation is like an emperor has no closed story, right? I mean, they keep telling us, this is the way it is, and we with our own eyes can see what the truth is. We see what's happening in our communities. We see what's happening, with the border. But it's really hard to put your finger on why are they allowing this to continuously happen? And it's something that we should continuously ask. We should be asking our congressmen. We should be being really vocal about it and get an answer as to why we're allowing this country to kind of be overrun with crime and drugs. Because we're not enforcing the law.
So what do you say to people who feel like being pro immigration laws is a form of discrimination, when we clearly have statistics and data that shows that not enforcing the immigration laws really is affecting our nation in the sense of safety? I mean, we can't say that everybody who comes in illegally is a bad person. We know that, but there's people who've been waiting in line to do this right. They've spent thousands of dollars and many years waiting and being patient and following the rule of law. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I get asked that a lot, and usually when I begin a lot of these talks, I let it be known right away that I am pro immigration. I want people to come to the United States. As when I was the field office director before I retired, one of my favorite things to do would be to go and watch a naturalization ceremony when people become United States citizens. And you go into this room and there's 50, 60 people in there raising their right hand, swearing allegiance to the United States, tears in their eyes as they're trying to become raising their hand to become a United States citizen. They've been through that process, a long process, like you said, and it means everything to them. You can just see it in how, how their body reflects that. And I want all people of all colors, creeds, religions to be able to enjoy the United States, to be able to come here and immigrate here. We are a melting pot nation, and we should accept immigrants. But my thing is, we need to accept them legally. There needs to be this process that we know who's coming in through the front door. Just last year alone, Border Patrol stopped almost 100 known or suspected terrorists. This year, this fiscal year, that number has already been doubled. So we're over 200 known or suspected terrorists here in July already of this year. So we don't know who's coming in by the amounts of people that are coming in. Before Title 42 went away, we had over 10,000 people a day illegally entering the United States. Now with Title 42 gone, that number's dropped down a little bit, but it's still 4,000 or 5,000 a day. And there's other ways that they're actually coming in as well, because this administration has opened up another lane for them to come in with their CBP One app, which allows them to actually make an appointment on the phone and just claim asylum on the phone and then be able to walk into the U.S., even though that asylum claim is probably not a legitimate claim.
So that is real. I mean, I've heard some conservative media report that. And, I think, John, one of the issues that I think see is that you don't hear much about these things that are actually happening. And when you finally do, it sounds so unreal that you just go, surely this is not true. Surely this is not happening. I mean, that is real. You are saying, yeah, this really does happen. They are really using this app to try to stay in the country in one form or another, because the Biden administration has made it easy for them to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, some statistics that I had pulled up. So, with that app, so we had let in between March 2021 and 2023, 800,000 migrants were released with notices to appear. 214,000 of them were eventually issued a discharging document, and they were told to go to the nearest ICE office. But 588,000 were just released into the U.S. and had no idea where they had to go or what they had to do or anything. I mean, the process that this administration is using, just releasing people into the interior, it's you look at it and you go, this can't be happening, but it is. And you look down in Miami or you look in, to some of these other places, and, they have 1,000 people a day just showing up at the ICE office looking to get on the docket with the judge. The issue is, and the reason they're doing this is because they want to start receiving benefits, right away. So you want to show up at the ICE office. You want to get yourself on that docket. You want to start your date. But the thing is, we've let so many people in this just rush toward the border that those dates are out 5 to 7 years. So they're not even going to see a judge for 5 to 7 years before they actually get in front of an immigration judge, and we can determine whether their asylum claim was even good or not. So I mean, that just leads, and it exasperates the whole problem, is that we've not followed the immigration law, and we've just kind of like made these openings for people to be able to come in, and we're saying, go into the interior, find an ICE office, show up at the ICE office. Well, as the stats have shown, 588,000, didn't even show up out of the 800,000 that they let in. So it's a problem, and we need to get it figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides the drug problem, which is clearly an issue here in America, I saw the movie The Sound of Freedom over the 4th of July weekend. Quite the eye-opening story as well. Mm-hmm. It's been highly criticized by liberal media, CNN, ridiculosities just being said. I mean, I'm just beyond just appalled that they could even go there. So you are one who can speak out of expertise, personal experience, and statistics. Talk to us about that, because while the liberal media wants to make this sound like, well, this is not real, the illegal immigration plays a part in this. And by the way, I don't just mean that they're here to do that, but that the people coming, that they experience quite the traumatic situation as well. I've interviewed somebody else about immigration, and they said this is being caring, is trying to keep people who don't need to be crossing the border illegally because of the things they go through. So can you talk to us a little bit about human trafficking, smuggling, the difference real quick, and
Yeah,
why that's important?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that movie is a, very important movie. I think everyone should definitely see it. ICE has a big role in human smuggling and sex trafficking. And throughout my career, I unfortunately was, able to observe a lot of that, a lot of human smuggling that had come up through Colorado and Wyoming, and just to see how those people are treated when they're smuggled into the U.S. But sex trafficking is a whole nother thing altogether. And very young women being sex trafficked across the United States. I remember a case that I worked here in Colorado. 17 young Honduran girls. They were all under the age of 17, being sex trafficked. Through the state, held at a hotel. Just sex trafficked out, and that's happening throughout the U.S. every single day. These major interstates, you can find seedy hotels where sex traffickers are moving young women throughout the United States to be used in this trade. And and it involves children as well, and it's horrific. Children are definitely abused with the whole border situation. I mean, you can all your listeners can go online and look up and actually see the statistics on children that were used at the border for people to claim that they were families. So at one point in time, the Obama administration and under the Biden administration, if you were a family unit, they wouldn't put you into custody and they would just release you into the U.S. But a lot of these guys that were coming in were not fathers, so they were actually renting children. They were paying mothers in Mexico to rent their children, and then they would come across the border with this child and claim the child was theirs. Now, under President Trump, he decided to have this DNA program to disclude that, and the Democrats went crazy about it. Saying we were separating children from their parents. Well, these were not even their real parents. These were people who had actually bought these children to use them. And in many situations, these men would just leave these children on the other side of the border or just abandon them. Or these children would be turned back around, sent through airports, sent back down into Mexico, and then re-rented, within days of landing back into Mexico. And that's actually how a lot of Border Patrol agents started noticing what was going on, because they kept seeing the same children come through. And, observant law enforcement officers recognize a lot of things, and that's how this case came to be. But you can actually look that up, Google search those statistics, and there were some massive operations going on where ICE was actually going to the airports, to encounter these people that were trafficking these kids back to Mexico, so that we could figure out what the connections were and what was going on. But hundreds and hundreds of kids were used that way. And the Democrats tried to claim that we were just trying to separate families, when in reality, under President Trump, this DNA program was instituted to figure out, hey, is this really the parent of this child? Because we shouldn't be letting people just take a child into the U.S. to do whatever, sexually traffic that child, move that child through the U.S. without absolutely knowing that person is related to that child. And this
100%.
administration actually stopped that DNA program.
Well, I'm not surprised. I mean, their mantra was, "Oh, this is moral panic." When we talked about the movie, and it makes you go, "What is wrong with your head that you could actually even talk bad about it? Why wouldn't you make your media space available to give us these statistics and what you're talking about?" So it doesn't surprise me that they would have stopped the program at all whatsoever. It's really unfortunate. Now, John, if somebody wanted to go look up these statistics, what phrase should they use on Google to look it up? Because there's the criticism from the liberal media is that these are made up statistics. So you, having been there, what would be the search?
Yeah. I'm going to have to look that up real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
but they could probably just search term children. Yeah, children used as family units for crossing the border,
Okay.
and that might bring up some of the ICE cases.
Okay. All right. Yep. Well, there you have it, friends. I mean, those of you who are watching, it's important that you do this research. You can't just hear out what the liberal media is saying. No, this did not happen. It's not happening. You have somebody who actually was on the field, dealt with situations, extensive experience that John has, and he's speaking from a place of authority that this is real. So, John, what are some things, just real briefly, as we get ready to close? What do we need to know as Americans to help this immigration issue, fentanyl issue, human trafficking, human smuggling? What do you say? What are your last words to the American community?
Yeah, just really keep your eyes open and research stuff. Like don't just accept what you see in the media. And when you get mad about something, if this is an issue that you want changed, you need to communicate with your congressmen and women, and get them to make changes, because they're the ones who can change the law. If we want these laws, to be enacted, and we want the United States to be a lawful country. We want people to obey our laws. You need to reach out and you need to make your voice known. You can actually follow one of the units that I'm involved in. It's called the National Immigration Center for Enforcement. It's on Twitter. It's at NIC Enforcement, and you can follow some of the stuff that we're doing. I'm actually testifying in front of Congress on Thursday. You can watch that testimony on YouTube. And just continue to get involved. You can go to our website, which is immigrationcenterforenforcement.org, and see some of the stuff that we're doing there as well. And we talk about the truth, and we just try to put the truth out there. So I just looked up that if you Google fake family units at the border, that'll bring up some of the websites, and you can actually look up some of the cases that ICE was involved in.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Fake, say it again, fake.
Fake family units at the border.
There you go, my friends.
Fake
There's something,
units.
Yeah, fake family units, something for you to run with and do your research on. One last thing, John, just very quickly, 1 minute or less. Our agents, they go through so much, and that really deserves an episode all by itself. What can we do as Americans to encourage and empower our agents?
Yeah, support law enforcement, support the agents, support the people at the border. They are going through a lot. Morale is definitely at its lowest. Border Patrol agents became Border Patrol agents because they believe that they could go out and protect the United States, and they're being taken from the border and they're being put in processing centers to just process illegal immigrants into the country every day. ICE agents and officers in the interior of the U.S. are being told to sit at their offices and just process people as they show up at the office. So they're not out on the street, looking for fentanyl, arresting drug traffickers, trying to stop this other stuff, because they're being forced to do jobs that they shouldn't be doing right now because of how bad the situation is. So, just continue to support law enforcement, continue to support ICE, Homeland Security, the Border Patrol. And again, give an earful to your congressman, because things are definitely going on and they need to change, and Congress is the one who can make that change.
There you go. Well, there you have it, my friends, with John Fabriccatore. He has just been such an empowerment today by helping us understand what's going on regarding immigration, why things are happening, fentanyl, sex trafficking, and so much more. John, it's been a true pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and educating us, myself included, so that I know how to be involved in this time. So thank you so much for coming on.